Hi, I'm Michelle Hankus, CEO of ShelterCare. Over the past several weeks, I've taken you on a tour of the past 5 decades. Fashions have changed and our world has evolved. ShelterCare has been through all those years with a vision to inspire all to create a home in our community.
My name is Ken Collins. I want to wish you a happy anniversary. 50 years is a long time. As a Vista volunteer in 1986 and 88 through 88, 2 years, I was a Vista volunteer and helped to organize the Yulehorn apartment. It was the first program in the country for people with brain injuries. That was funded through HUD, and it really has helped many people over the years. I want to thank Susan Band, knowing that she's done a great job helping people and working in a program that's benefited hundreds, if not thousands, more like thousands of disenfranchised people in the Eugene, Springfield area. Thank you again. It's been an honor to be able to say hello after all these years. And I just want you to know that my experience with ShelterCare was fantastic. And so thank you, and good luck to y'all in the future.
Hi, my name is Susan Band, and I started working at ShelterCare in the late 1980s as a volunteer, as a consultant. I was on the board, I answered phones. And then in 91, I became the executive director and stayed in that position for a very long time. But when I first started at ShelterCare, Bill Yulehorn was the executive director, and he had a tiny little office in the Hawthorne Apartments building. And the programs at that point were family shelter program that served families in all of their units, and then Royal Avenue was a crisis respite program, and then the Hawthorne Apartments.
I'm Ursula Schneider. I retired from ShelterCare 2 years ago as a clinical director and director of programs. I met Susan first when I was working as a therapist at the Hawthorne program. And Susan was hired as the executive director of ShelterCare. So that was 30 years ago, and those 3 decades that we have worked together. From the beginning, I knew that Susan would bring great leadership and focus to ShelterCare, because when I first met her, the program was not clearly focused, and there was sometimes a lack of direction, and boundaries were not so clear, and we had feelings meetings. You have to remember those were the 80s, and Susan really encouraged us to stay focused on mission, and she also developed policy and procedures, made sure we were in compliance, and made sure that we were clear about program goals. That focus really helped the agency move forward, and under Susan's leadership, there was a considerable growth within ShelterCare.
Memories of Brethren Housing. Excellent question. This is Eric Van Houten. I had the pleasure of working at Brethren Housing from 93 to about 95. I was initially an advocate counselor and then transitioned to a relief counselor. Wonderful experience, worked with some of the most amazing people and really taught me a lot about working with homeless families and individuals. I have really strong memories of the 3 individuals that lived in the SRO rooms there at Brethren Housing, kind of like our Bates Motel over there. Very much of a special place to work. I want to call out Yuki. She was had strong memories of working with her and just her amazing ability to connect with people. The other memory that I want to share is really the wonderful opportunity it always felt when families got to move into the units on the east part of that parking lot. The joy of the kids, seeing a basketball hoop, open places to play, was a strong memory for me, and stays with me to today. So thank you for doing this and recognizing the amazing work that happened in the 90s across all of ShelterCare, but particularly at Brethren Housing. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Sandy Sheets. I have been on the board of ShelterCare since 1996, and over these 25 years have served on many committees as well as board president for a 2-year term. As a psych RN and a mental health professional, ShelterCare is near and dear to my heart as an agency that has focused many of its services on working with the seriously and persistently mentally ill. In addition to this population, they've worked with other vulnerable populations, such as those with addictions, those with traumatic brain injuries, and many those who have issues of homelessness. Some of my memories of the fundraising activities of ShelterCare over the years include the housewarming auction. It was an event that we sponsored over 5 years. It was co-sponsored by Edmunds Furniture, Jerry's Home Improvement, as well as other agencies. It involved using local designers and decorators, each of whom transformed a room using hundreds of donated auction items. A venue of the Lane County Fairgrounds was turned into a veritable house full of rooms, each of them decorated uniquely and beautifully by these talented designers. The housewarming auction raised thousands of dollars over 5 years to support the mission and values of ShelterCare. The problems of mental illness, drug and alcohol addictions, homelessness remain with us. ShelterCare remains at the forefront in addressing these issues here in Eugene and Lane County. Won't you make a gift to support ShelterCare in honor of their 50th anniversary so that they can continue the good work that they do and have done for over 50 years? Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Suzanne and I've worked for ShelterCare for 26 years. When hired, I started as a case manager working with homeless families, and now I am the program manager for housing services for families. I've worked with many programs over the years, but the homeless prevention program is particularly special to me. This program started in the early to mid-2000s. It has helped thousands of community members stay in their homes rather than face the harsh reality of homelessness. At the time the homeless prevention program started, I was working in the family shelter with homeless families. We were seeing a lot of families become homeless due to a one-time emergency situation that made it so they couldn't pay their rent. In helping families with a small amount of money, we could actually prevent someone from becoming homeless in the first place. Part of why I stayed with ShelterCare for so long is because I feel that this agency has always been responsive to the needs of our community. It makes me feel proud and honored to be a service provider with ShelterCare. There is something wonderful about working for a place that helps those that are incredibly vulnerable, provide hope, stability, and resources so that they can lead a life that they enjoy and are proud of. Thank you for being a part of our celebration.
I'm Lucy Vinnis, and before I became mayor of Eugene, I was the development director at ShelterCare. It was probably in around 2012 when Carl Kern took me on a sneak preview to see the warehouse at 499 West 4th that ShelterCare was proposing to buy. I was speechless. It was vast, dusty, and filled with metal shelving. I could not imagine how this old, cold space could be a warm home for the organization. Others, thankfully, were not so daunted. Before construction began, we were creative in our use of this vast, dusty space. We set up a canopy at about the same spot where the conference room is now and strung it with lights. For the holidays, we invited staff to wear their coats and gather together in our winter wonderland to share hot cider. As Susan Band scheduled meetings with donors, we arranged the area under the canopy to receive guests, with displays of the planned building, brochures, and treats. I will always be grateful to the donors who were able to see past the dust and the dark and the gloom of that building to the vision and support us with generosity. And that's what I love about ShelterCare. Always nimble, inventive, and indomitable. The staff is dedicated to helping people envision a better life and then act on that vision. ShelterCare builds community from the inside out.
Back in 2012, Sandy sent me an email that had the Portland Thrill the World group doing their yearly performance. And she said, wouldn't it be fun to go up there and learn the dance and do it with them? And I looked on the website of Thrill the World and saw that it was open to all cities. And I wrote back to Sandy, hey Sandy, let's just do it in Eugene. We diligently went through the Learn the Dance videos. It was tough. We had this pressure on of not only learning it, but we're going to have to teach it. And Thrill the World Eugene was born.
Thrill the World is an international event. It happens annually the Saturday before Halloween, where thousands of people around the world dance simultaneously to Michael Jackson's Thriller in an attempt to break a world record.
We are encouraged by Thrill the World Global to choose a charity, so we have ShelterCare.
To be working hard for something beyond the dance has been really meaningful to both Margot and I. We fundraised all during our dance seasons now.
You do not have to be a professional dancer. That's one of the wonderful things about the dance. Everybody is bringing their own personality, their own skill level to it, and that's what makes it so beautiful, that you watch each person and the whole dance takes on something different. We're not just one, we're many.
My name is Darren Fuster, and I'm the Executive Director of the Oregon Mozart Players. From my first visit to Eugene, I witnessed the homelessness firsthand, and I couldn't help but think how OMP could make an impact to improve the lives of homeless in our community. When I worked for the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra a few years ago, I witnessed the work of violinist from the LA Phil Vijay Gupta's work at the Midnight Mission in downtown LA on Skid Row. I knew from witnessing that and from experiencing work with the mission, with the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra, that it was ultimately something that I knew I wanted to become more involved in. After moving to Eugene and researching local homeless nonprofits and how they impacted Eugene, I knew that I wanted to work with ShelterCare because of their outstanding reputation within the community. I met with Susan Band and Kat Mathewson to learn more about ShelterCare services and their mission. And I also met with Ariane Harrelson and discussed how our OMP Inspires programming could assist in the ShelterCare mission. We ultimately decided on OMP's interactive thinking about music and music improvisation being the most impactful offerings for ShelterCare clients. While I never imagined my first year navigating a performing arts organization through a pandemic, OMP is adapting and will continue to release our OMP Inspires program with ShelterCare digitally. And when it's safe, we'll return to an in-person musical visit. I see our collaboration with ShelterCare not only as a way to provide needed, meaningful programming, but also as a way for Eugene community nonprofits to work more collaboratively towards a common goal. I look forward to our program with ShelterCare improving lives and for our work together to become a model for others. Congratulations, ShelterCare, on your 50th anniversary, and the Oregon Mozart Players looks forward to growing with you and making a positive impact in your next 50.
Dana Peterson-Crabb, Housing Services Director for ShelterCare. I'm very excited to be thinking about this next year. We're going to be the service provider for the Commons on MLK. We're going to be providing housing supports, peer supports, behavioral health supports to the folks who live at the MLK building. And we're very excited. Feels like a long time coming, and we just can't wait to get started. In a couple months, that's where we'll be, and we can't wait to see you. In the summer, we're going to be opening up services for families at 13th and Tyler, which will be 15 units for families. And we're very excited. It's going to be such a beautiful spot. Families can come together as a community and just support each other. We're going to have housing services there on site, as well as peer support services there on site. And we're going to support people as best we can, move them forward and out of homelessness. And we'll continue all of the other programs that we've been able to provide to the community through our permanent supported housing program, our short-term housing program, our housing services for families, and our ShelterCare medical recuperation. And we can't wait to continue to do that for the next year and into the foreseeable future. Thank you.
The important question now is, what will ShelterCare do for the future? Or perhaps the better question is, what will we do together for the future? Because we know that collaboration is the key to building our capacity in our community to serve those who are unhoused. Partnerships like the ones we have with Carry It Forward at the Garden Spot, or the ones ShelterCare are working with Homes for Good, the county, and many other partners to make the Commons on MLK a reality. And ShelterCare's ongoing partnerships with Whitebird and Cahoots, just to name a few. 2020 has been an eventful year, to say the least. And while I know we are all exhausted and anxious about our health, our social justice, and the economy, I've seen ShelterCare staff adapt to our new normal, creating new processes to protect our consumers and each other, like using telehealth for behavioral health services and socially distant meal delivery at our medical recuperation program. Many of our staff are figuring out how to work remotely when possible, and we've all learned how to use that mute button on Zoom calls. But more than anything else, we've redefined what the word essential means. Essential means health. Essential means safety. It means knowing that you have the resources to take care of your loved ones. We've learned that Band-Aid solutions to homelessness that need to be figured out year after year are not enough. We've learned that housing, real housing, is essential. And ShelterCare's work is more vital than ever to help everyone create a home. And so I ask you today to be part of our vision. Make a gift to ShelterCare. It's easy. Just visit sheltercare.org/50 years, 50 years today. Thank you.